Is the bench press the king of injuries? I got this comment the other day on a video that I did talking about how they can't bench press anymore because they have shoulder pain. Another comment came in saying that the bench press is an old movement and it's not necessary to do. I'm not saying that these are wrong and everybody has they're entitled to their opinions, but the bench press is a great movement for developing your upper body overall. And you can achieve great muscularity doing the bench press. Almost every great bodybuilder, lifter, powerlifter, whatever, bench presses. So you can't take that fact away from the movement. So there are benefits to doing a bench press. You can overload the chest, shoulders, and triceps very easily with it. It requires less stability than like if you said dumbbell bench press. So you are going to recruit more muscle fibers when you do it. So I don't want you to miss out on this movement, but if you are having shoulder pain from the bench press, this is what I would do. So first things first, I would video my sets. And I wouldn't video it from an Instagram angle, right? Like front on so you could see like the weight and everything. I would video from the side because when you video from the side, you can catch errors that you're making. And these are the things you're going to look for, and I'm going to explain. So once you video it, you're going to watch that set. You're going to analyze your footage the same way professional sports athletes do. They watch game footage and all that stuff. You're going to do the same thing because you take your lifting seriously and you want to make a change for the better here. So you're going to analyze your form. First thing you're going to look at is your tempo of the movement. And do you have control of the barbell? Is the weight just slamming down on your chest? Are you using full range of motion? Do you have control over the entire lift? If none of those things, this could be why you're having shoulder pain, and you should reset the movement, do it again, and film it again, and see if you have more control and see if you have less shoulder pain. Okay? The other thing you're going to be looking at, are you rounding? Is your back completely flat when you're bench pressing and your shoulders are rounded forward? Or are you in a good arched position? What most people forget when they bench press, you almost want to make the bench press, the flat barbell bench press, you want to have an arch in your chest because that puts your shoulders in the safest spot possible. So you almost want to think of a barbell bench press very similar to a decline bench press. So you're on a flat and you want to arch your chest up, putting yourself in almost like a declined position when you're bench pressing. Because when you do that, and as you can see as I'm showing in this video, as when I pull my chest up, my shoulder blades get tucked back. And that's a really safe position for your shoulders. So you're going to watch this video and you're going to analyze, are you arched? Is your back completely flat? Which flat back bench pressing is not terrible as long as your shoulders aren't rounding forward. So you still have to have a little bit of an arch if you're doing that, okay? Then you're going to look at your hand placement. Some guys grab the bar too close. Some guys grab it too wide. You have to see what the individual need is for yourself because every person has different limb lengths. Their forearms are longer, shorter, biceps and arms are just shorter, longer. Where their shoulders are falling, you have to look at that hand placement because if you're bench pressing, just to say in this position, and you're coming down, it might be putting too much torque on your shoulder. You have to observe these things. So you're gonna look at your hand placement. You're gonna look then at that point if all those things are checked off and everything looks correct. And when you look to bench press, it looks nice and smooth. Everything's in line when you're bench pressing. Then you look at the load. Is the weight just too heavy? Sometimes shoulder injuries are caused by just throwing on too much weight or you're not ready for that next step in the bench press. Maybe you're not ready for the next 5 or 10 pounds. You have to focus on your form. I've done so many videos on this where it's not about just adding reps or adding weight. It's sometimes about just perfecting your form and making sure that you're feeling those sets and getting the most out of them. Okay. So then you look at the load. Is the load too heavy? Okay. If the load is too heavy, if the load is good, then the next thing you look at is your rep range. Every person is different and every rep range is going to affect every person differently. And when it comes to the bench press, if your reps are too high, maybe you're getting too fatigued and other muscles are kicking in. Maybe your shoulders are a little bit overdeveloped and what's starting to happen is they're taking over during the movement because the reps are too high. So maybe in this case, lowering the reps down and using a smaller rep range, like a lower rep range, like a heavier load, maybe that might help. Or maybe the opposite, we just don't know. The next thing then, if you're checking all those boxes, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to look at your overall pressing volume. Most people forget that your shoulders are used a lot when you do a lot of upper body movements. So are you doing too much overhead pressing? Because that could affect your shoulders. Whenever we bench press or do dumbbell bench press or whatever, you're hitting a lot of front delt. I mean, think about it. When you're in the bottom position of a bench press, that front delt is getting a big stretch, sometimes even more so than when you're in an overhead press position. So you have to look at the overall pressing volume. Are you doing too much shoulder work? Front delt work, I should say. Because if you're doing front raises, dumbbell front raises, dumbbell shoulder press, that's bad because you're overworking your shoulders in that case too. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to try to look at each one of these points, re-video, reanalyze, and keep doing this over and over again until your form is perfect for you. That's the key, is that people will read books and they'll listen to gurus online and they're like, okay, this guru benches this way, so I have to do that too. But that's not necessarily the case because you're built differently. So you have to analyze your own stuff and make these judgments and comparisons and with yourself only. So I don't want you to miss out on the gains from the bench press. So if you're getting some shoulder issues when you're benching, try the stuff that I mentioned in this video. It will go a long way into helping you to perfect the form and get the most out of these movements. Because again, you could put on a lot of muscle when your bench press gets to that 300-400 pound mark. All right. And again, very similar to sport athletes, analyze your own footage and focus on what you're doing. Look at where your feet are. Look at where your arm placement is. All those things that I talked about, they're very important with incorporating a big, smart, effective bench press. Bench press, believe it or not, even though it's a simple movement, you rack the bar, you bring it down to your chest, you push it up, it's a very technical movement. And you've got to look at all the little nuanced things in order to get the most out of it. So, do you get shoulder pain during bench press? Or do you get any pain during bench press? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious if you guys are having any other pain. I'm just curious what that is for most people because everyone's a little bit different. And because you made it this far in the video, I got a free gift for you. I have a free 6-week training program that I want to give you. No strings attached. I just want to help you prevent all the mistakes that I made along my 20-year journey. All right. This was Anthony, AB Fitness. I'll catch you on the next one.